Witam. Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another STEM Racing Poland webinar. Today, I'm joined by Alex from STEM Racing Germany. And why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Hi, I'm Alex from STEM Racing Germany. I'm the official ICC and current until this date and the upcoming World Finals double-time world champion with my teams Rico Racing and Evolution from 2023 and 2024. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah, pretty good track record. So I'm going to believe everything you say today. So today we're doing a webinar about pit displays. I know, especially for first-time teams, and with Poland being a pretty new to the competition as a whole, not many teams have lots of experience to what a pit display even looks like or what should be on one. So we'll look into the specifications a bit of what a pit display is, expand on some of the terminology, and get an expert's opinion on the matter. So I'll have the regulations open on the screen, but could you roughly describe what a pit display is? What is it? Why is it important? Just, we don't need to specifically talk about the scorecard, but just a general overview about pit displays.
Yeah, personally, I think the pit display is one of the most important parts of the team and of the team identity, because it's like the business card for your team, even if your team is not there. So everyone is going around the pit displays at nationals, regionals, world finals, wherever you are. You always go around the pit displays and you see the pit displays. And that's the first impression of your team others get. So invest the time you have and you probably plan for it. Use it wisely, because that is your business card at the finals, wherever you are, worlds, regionals, nationals, whatever. So it's very important that you have a good style pit display. And yeah, that's, I guess, one of the most important parts to know about it, that everyone is looking, especially on the pit displays.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of describing it, as a business card that basically everybody sees, even if you're not currently there. Definitely at World Finals, at some English events and whatnot, there's a lot of working around it, admiring the pit displays when the teams are off being judged, racing, whatever. All teams look at each other's pit displays, and even the spectators get invited to look at the pit displays. But judges are just curious, and it's one of the most fun things to see at a pit display. So it definitely gets a lot of attention. All right, now that we know roughly what a pit display is and what it should be accomplishing, we'll look a little closer at the specifications. Considering how big and how important the pit displays are, they actually don't get a lot of information about them here. So we'll just go off of what we have. We'll start with visual appearance, I think, because I think sustainability is a little bit of a more niche and bigger topic that we'll have a bit of a conversation about. So based off the guidelines, what do you think the visual appearance of a pit display should be?
Yeah, so I guess it fits perfectly in this, what I said before. So it's how the pit display looks. I brought a picture from the pit display from the World Finals last year from my German from World Vice Champion array from last year. And I guess it's a good example to see how a good looking pit display looks like. You can see the team identity, what it's like, and they use every space, but it's not too overloaded and full. And I guess that is something very important to have, that you put the main thing in the middle, and that is in this competition your car. Your car is what it's about in this competition. The card, the CFD, and everything else in manufacturing. It's all about your car. So in my opinion, it's always a good point to put your car in the middle, because it's the biggest place where you can put it and present it. And then, just like Ray did it here on the left side, they showed the team and some of the brand identity, and then on the right side, a little bit of social media sponsors and so on. And in the middle, it's all about the car. So in the right corner, you can see like an explosion picture of the car with all the parts, and they have different cars from over the years and the competition in it. So I guess that is a brilliant example how a professional looking pit display look like.
Because yeah, one of the keywords here is professional looking display, and I think it is important to note that there is a difference between a cool pit display, a pretty pit display, and what the specifications specifically ask for, which is professional looking.
So in this case, when you look at it, you don't see any folding mistakes or something. So especially for the World Finals, and of course for the national finals, is very important or a big point for your pit display, how you transport all your materials. Because when you got damage on the paper for the wall or whatever you use for the wall, then you can't easily fix it without seeing it at the finished pit display. So it's very important that you don't have folding edges or everything what could look like messy or don't look professional into your pit display. And also the quality of the printing is very important, because when you can see some pixels or something, that's not professional. So it needs everything high quality from the displays you have, from your cars you put into the display, your parts from spoilers, wings, wheels, bearings, whatever. It needs to look all professional and clean, and there isn't any space for failure when you want to have it to look like a professional. Especially here with Saudi Arabia last year, it was like that was more or less a massive wall, so you need to watch into the configuration, especially for the worlds, with the measurements and where could be the header, and maybe you need to cut out something from your paper or whatever you use. So you need to look at that too, because when you need to fold it back or something, then it's a little bit too wide from the wall, and then it's not looking professional.
I think especially for world finals, that's very important, because you get given exact measurements. You everything is custom built. This is a custom built pit display, so everybody, kind of what to expect going into it. And you have no excuse really to not have put everything down to the size, everything perfectly folded. Transporting it, a bit of a bigger issue at world finals, but even for national finals, there are some the Polish teams will obviously be traveling around Poland. Everything has to fit into a car, van, suitcase, whatever. So it's still obviously very important to make sure everything is professional and arrives in one piece.
And especially for the folding display, what you told me you use for your pit displays at this moment, they are a little bit easier to transport because you can fold it, and all the good sides, so what you show outside, lays on each other. So when you have good printing and the glue is dried and so on, there are lower chances that you damage your pit display for the printing part. But when you broke off an edge of the wood or whatever you produce your pit display in, and when you broke off an edge or you get a crack in it, it's not that professional looking anymore. And you see it most of the times when something happened, you can see it as a judge or as a visitor or other team, whoever looks at it.
And in that case, that would be immediately just less professional looking.
Yeah.
So what would you say about the highly effective graphics are just cool, efficient graphics? In the example you showed, for example, the car, the explosion of the car and the individual pieces, it's effective, it gets the job across, it's relevant. And ambient advertising and use of lighting to enhance display. I don't think the use of lighting is going to be very expected at national scale. This is probably more for international competitions, but the ambient advertising, especially when it comes to stuff like sponsors, your schools, partnerships, stuff like that. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, about advertising, it will go like in two sides. You need to represent also the sponsors on your pit display because they are a big part of your team and they help you to realize everything. So that's quite important. But on the other side, advertising can also be the giveaways you gave away. So like Array did it really clever for the World Finals. They used these bags you have seen in the picture because at the World Finals, every judge gets so many gifts from all over the teams, especially the pit display crews. So they carry around all the gifts, and when you have a bag like Array did, it's good. You can say when they come to the pit display, "Hey, I've seen you have a lot of gifts. Here's a bag for you. You can lay it all in, and then it's safe, and you can write your name on it because it's very sustainable and with cotton that is recycled or whatever." So yeah, I mean, advertising is two sides, and when you think about giveaways, I think it's more and more important to think out of the box, out of the normal box, because the competition, especially internationally, is now over 20 years old. So there is not many things that haven't seen in some of the teams, especially for World Finals. I mean, we are heading for the 20th World Finals now, and there are some judges, they, I guess, were at every World Final. So they have seen a lot of gifts and giveaways. So when you think about it, also with giveaways to be sustainable, so try something new or something that you could use a longer time, not especially maybe bottles, because that is something I've seen the last years a lot, bottles or pens or something like this. Some years before it was big thing USB sticks, but I guess that's not that effective anymore. So now I guess it's very important in advertising to think new.
So we'll go off of that into the sustainability aspect, because you already mentioned the ambient advertising. You should make sure it's sustainable, reusable, stuff like that. But we'll look specifically into sustainability, because I've heard lots of teams just generally be a little confused, a little lost at what a sustainable pit display even is. I've seen lots of teams do very similar stuff and always repeat the same stuff. A very common one is that all the teams try to use a recyclable plastic, for example, which again is cool, is recyclable, is sustainable. But as you said, you often want to truly understand the topic so you can stand out a little bit. Kind of the bounds of what you're working with, so you can try find more room for development in the topic. So in sustainability, what do you have to say about a sustainable pit display?
Yeah, I mean, sustainability, it's not only the ecological part. That's something what I experienced. A lot of teams thinks that sustainability is only like getting the plastic bottles from the beach or something like that, but it's only one of three parts of sustainability. We have in sustainability also the economical side, so finance ones, and the social part of sustainability. So when you try to think not only in the ecological way, so also maybe in the economical way with your pit display, especially for the nationals, like for you in Poland, when you know as a team you want to compete the next year again, then it's maybe a clever idea to use maybe glue that it's easy to put off, and then the next time, because the measurement of this folding display doesn't change, so you don't need to buy or produce it again, and you save money, time, and it's good for the environmental. So it's something I said to my teams for the World Finals now also, that sustainability isn't only the ecological thing. Sustainability is a theme from 3 under themes or sub themes that all go together in sustainability. And I guess when you try to think it new then and try to think maybe, or can other teams use it after us when we are too old, so we can give it in the school bag so other teams can use it. So there are a lot of things you can think about when it goes to sustainability for the pit display itself, and also like the giveaways or whatever lies in the pit display.
I think that's a great point, because I agree that mostly when I see these pit displays, there's a lot of focus on the environmental aspect of sustainability and a much smaller focus on the economic and social factors. We mentioned a few economic factors, for example, making sure it's reusable by your own team next year, your school the next year, anything like that. But what would you have an example as a social factor that you could fit on your pit display?
Maybe. So I don't know if this is a big part in other parts of the world, but in Germany there are some kind of workshops, but for people that are not good. So they are maybe sitting in a wheelchair or having mental issues or something like that. So that could be a social aspect to, when you let produce your pit display, that you not do it like in a normal workshop or something. Let's then do it maybe in the workshop for handicapped people, so in the wheelchair or with mental illness or whatever. There's a lot of things in the world that can impact people to maybe not be as safe in their lives as they were before. It's something, and that could be a social idea to do it, or build it with the kids from the lower classes, for example, or let them put in ideas in it so bring in other generations, other people that maybe don't know about this competition. It's good for the competition to spread it, and also it's maybe good for you as a team to get a new idea, because what I see often is that people that are in our bubble with STEM racing often brings in new ideas that you couldn't imagine before, because you think in your own bubble. And I guess that could something with the social aspect, especially for the pit display.
I'm trying to think of myself now, based on what you said. What are some social factors I most remember from seeing from some of the better pit displays? And I think one of them is a team that took on the responsibility of mentoring a different team at their school from the primary class, because this was in England, for example. I remember a team that hosted a school like arts and crafts thing that they did with all of their school to create little trinkets that they would sell for their team. So some economic and social consideration in that action and that little party there. So yeah, but it's definitely worth it. Well, not only for the regulations and for the points, but in general, it's worth exploring, thinking a little outside the box and exploring some social factors and some ways your team can help kind of your local community. So that'll lead us with the final, and I think one of the biggest ones of pit display content. What should actually be in a pit display? We've talked about.
Yeah, I mean, every team is free for it, what they want to put in and what they want to have a little bit more in it and less in it. But I think from my experience as a judge and as a competitor, and now as the ICC, what I just mentioned is put the car in the best light you can do it, because you have for example, in the UK national finals with the pit display, or the Worlds, you have a lot of space. So, and you work like a half year, maybe 3/4 of a year for this project. So you have to tell about your car, and you can tell about your car what you thought about with CFD and why you put the wings like this and so on, and or like at the array pit display with the explosion picture to bring in the most important details from your car, but also what is important, don't forget your sponsors and you as a team. I mean, it's a little bit difficult, or more difficult, for the folding display because the space is much more framed. But also there you can do it like put the car in the middle, and one wing you put you as a team and your identity, and then maybe have like a stripe all over the pit display at the top or at the bottom or wherever, where all your sponsors are, where you can see the sponsors. And there are lots of ideas how you can do it, or put all the sponsors maybe in the background and then put all the text above it, so you always see the sponsors, like it's an idea. So there's no framework in this particular category. It's often, especially at the judges, a little bit of a personal favor what you want to see. So that's also a reason why pit display judging is sometimes a little bit different and difficult, both because everyone have their personal taste for what they like and what they want to see in the pit display content. So yeah, but I guess it's always a good point to put the car in the best light you can, and also you as a team worked for this like half a year or something like this. So yeah, quite important, I guess.
What would you say about specifically it being interactive? I think I saw a lot of ways that teams made it interactive was with immediately incorporating some sort of technology and stuff like that. The tactile display items is again little trinkets you can hand out, which could be your ambient advertising. You can link some of these together. You can make a tactile display item that is also advertising something that is also sustainably made, and immediately you're hitting high bands in all three categories. But specifically when it comes to the technology and multimedia aspect, what would you recommend? Because I've seen lots of teams handle it quite differently.
Yeah, so I mean, there we have to take in two perspectives, because the one perspective is the big pit displays at the Worlds. You have 3 meter for whatever you want to show, so it's easier to be interactive. But there you have to watch out only to put in an iPad or whatever, like of a touch display, and then touch around like a PowerPoint or something. That is not like multimedia you want to see now. So, for example, recall in 2023, the whole pit display, or the back wall of the pit display, was just plain white, and there was a projector in their small table. And then when you on their iPad, when you click on the theme, then the projector starts and project the video of what you want to see at the back wall with 2 little music boxes so you can hear the sound. So that would be for World Finance Interactive. Or Array had like reaction testing. That is the side for World Finance and big pit displays. I'm not a big fan of just putting a computer game in it. We talked before about it. That's nothing what has to do with your project. For me, it's just they don't know what to do. Just put in a computer game and hoping to hitting some points. And for the folding display, it's a little bit difficult because you need to be very precise with multimedia and technique. But what I've seen in Germany sometimes, that they build their own console to push buttons, and then there's a little theme song or some explanation from a little music box in this console, and then a little lights up to the team member who is explained now, or to the parts of the car where what is explained to them. So there is a lot of work to put in multimedia into this folding display, but it's not impossible.
So Yeah, some good advice. It makes sense. It is definitely a little bit more difficult art, but especially what Poland's going to be doing for national scale, we're just giving a small little table space. Well, not that small, but definitely not 3 meters by 1 meter size. But I've definitely seen teams be creative in the past and manage to work all of these points into even a smaller regional event. So that's all the regulations. We'll go into, we kind of touched upon it a little bit there, but what are some common problems and pitfalls you see teams fall into? You mentioned, for example, the computer games and the simulators is one you kind of see come up quite a bit, but why specifically do you think those are problems, and do you know of any other pitfalls you see teams falling into?
Yeah, the most of the time when teams fail at their pit display, it's because they don't practice the build-up. So before we talk about this more, I will show you a video from our nationals this year at the Audi factory in Germany, where they also built the powertrain for the upcoming F1 team. And there you can see a little bit of the chaos of building up the pit displays.
Hey. If we just go to like a random point during the pit displays, and we can just have a look at some of them. Because there was some, you could see the professional class ones, but you could also see development, which is what we're doing.
There's something of the professional class there.
So that is professional ones.
Yeah, this is basically the moment just before we say you can start to build up. So you can see here in the picture, quite funny, the guys in the blue shirts are our German national champions, the Blue Wolves. They are now also coming for the World Finals. And you can see a little bit in the background some guys in purple shirts. That is our third place in Germany, Echo Racing. They also will come to the World Finals. And what they did very good is they practice how to build up their pit display. So they know how to put up their table, how to put up their multimedia in the pit display. They knew every team member knew what to do. And that is a big bonus point also for the Worlds and for nationals and wherever you want to compete. And when you know which team member is doing what, when, while they build up for the pit display.
Yeah, especially at World Finals, it seemed like such a big scramble of all the teams at once building. Even at the Polish nationals, we're going to have, a limited hour slot where they can build their pit display. So it is important. Yeah, you're right, to actually use that hour well. If we skip around, there's definitely some development ones as well, which are just...
Yeah.
There we go.
There you can see how they build up their folding pit display. So it's like you in Poland, we give them a table and then that's it. So they are allowed to put on whatever they want to hide the table or something, but it's only judged what is on the table. So the display and on the table, like cars, spoilers, wings, whatever, but everything below the table level is not judged. So some of the teams bring some blankets or whatever to just hide the table. But yeah.
Makes sense. And
messy.
Yeah, we can see it's a little more restricted than the big.
Yeah, I guess at the end. Okay, Now we have to watch the next video. This one, I guess there were some more of the pits, I guess. No, then it was in this video.
I think at the very last second there's a...
There we go. Some Perfect. Of the... So we just see here some of the professional pit display, so you can see some differences, especially where some teams they are not like that experienced and some they are very experienced. But yeah, it's one of very high quality. And then here we are getting to the displays you guys in Poland use. We have here Carbon Racing, Kita, so Flat Racer, Speed Titans. So yeah, some crazy ideas of it. So yeah.
Cool stuff. I hope anybody watching this, either live or on the video afterwards, or even in the future years, I'm sure some of these will still be relevant and still be inspiration for at least a ballpark of what a pit display can and maybe should look like. Because I think for especially first-time teams, based off the regulations alone, it's not incredibly clear to the extent of how far you can go with these pit displays and what they should look like. And again, all the content and everything that should be on these pit displays, I think, is often lost to first-time teams. And then you go to your first event, your first regional, and you see the professional teams, and you see, wow, but people take it seriously.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it, when you begin with the competition, it's sometimes difficult to think about what you can reach. But for example, the Speedy Sparkles formed in the last season, so getting for the first time together as a team, and then directly get to the national finals and bring in such a great pit display.
Yeah, for a first-time team, this is incredible stuff.
Yeah. So, and that's what I said at the beginning, that this is your business card where everyone walks by, and when you have something which catches your eyes, or just the color like the Speedy Sparkles with the light pink, it catches your eyes, and then you maybe go near and watch it, or you will watch it later on the day because you remember it. That's very important, because when it's all plain white or something very boring, then nobody really will remember it.
And this is where you can start linking it to incorporating your pit display in other aspects of the regulations. For example, immediately underneath the regulations, we can see corporate identity starts appearing. This is under pit displays under brand identity in general, so it's definitely an important part of your brand and the wider brand identity scorecard. It should be considered when you're doing your pit display.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, brand identity, when you have a good brand identity, it goes through all of the elements. Every element is branded exactly the same. When you are a top team or a very good team, then everything is branded the same way. Or you play with your colors, that maybe the presentation is lighter than your pit display or whatever, to show everyone you have the same color on your shirts, your shoes, your portfolios, your pit display, your car, whatever.
Makes sense. You can definitely see when the teams do actively think about it and consider these things when building their display and everything else, compared to the teams that just didn't think that far ahead.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the scorecard. That's some common pitfalls. I'll let the chat know now that if you have any questions, we'll slowly be wrapping this up. But in the meantime, I'll ask you, so what is your number one piece of advice when it comes to your pit display, maybe specifically for your first time entering and building a pit display?
For first time building it, don't try to overdo it. Start simple, collect your ideas, breathe, and then think about how you want to structure it, and then do it. I mean, especially when you know that you want to compete 2 or 3 years into the competition, you have the time to develop and to evolve. So don't overdo it, because when you try to overdo it, there will be mistakes, or more mistakes than when you just start slowly and just relax, because every new aspect you want to bring in, multimedia, electrics, technique, whatever, it will bring some sources of failure. The question is, did you get the failure or not? But start simple and then evolve as a team.
For example, the speedy one you showed, I wouldn't say that was particularly complicated, but you evidently remember it from months ago at this point. I remember it from just that video. It just stood out. It wasn't.
Yeah, I
that
mean, I have seen this season around 120 pit displays, and this is something I will remember for the last season, that there was a team that all the pit display was like pink. So that is something I remember.
Yeah, great advice. All right, well, it seems that there weren't any questions. If there are any questions in the future, though, if somebody watches this as a video, then are they okay to reach out to you, to the German teams you've coached? Where would you point people for advice and any tips in this matter? Just looking at other pit displays, or?
Yeah, so in Germany, especially for the Instagram account, we always post from every regional, especially from the regional finals, every pit display in
that's
the
great.
story highlight for this particular regional final. So you can watch out from 2024 and this last season, so 25. You can watch every pit display there were at the national finals, and there you can obviously see some pit displays that failed a little bit more and some they failed a little bit less. So it's a good point to see that other teams are struggling too.
Yeah, I think that's great, actually, to look at Instagram accounts. The German one, I know the Worlds one obviously posts a lot of the pit displays that appear at Worlds, which are the best of the best in theory. So I think that's some great advice for initial pointers. Okay, well, thank you for your time. It was great having you on. I feel people have learned a lot about pit displays, hopefully. I definitely have. I never had the joy of building one myself, but I have looked at a few and judged a few. So great to hear all of that from you.
Yeah, perfect. No problem.
Any closing remarks?
No, I guess it's said everything. I guess we have a good roundup for everything, the scorecard, how World Finals pit display can look like, and so on. But very important is find your own style as a team. It doesn't help you to just copy a team, especially in countries where the competition is not so big or the judges pool is not very big. They will remember when something looks very similar to something they have seen. And especially when it's more or less copied, then they will see it and maybe give you some less points for it because it was not your own idea or creativity.
Yeah, especially in Poland, there have been one national final so far. So if anybody comes up with the same pit display as our winner from 2 years ago, the judges will know.
Yeah.
We've gained a question, but in German, I'm pretty sure, and I think relating to STEM Racing Germany.
I have seen them. I don't know if there will be live streams from STEM Racing Germany. Let's say it this way. Maybe we are planning something, but we have some other tasks at this moment at our list, especially to bring in perfectly our 3 teams to get the 3rd title in a row. That is the mission for this year. Hopefully it works, and we're also working on the new regulations for the upcoming season. It's our 20th season, so just a big jubilee for us. But maybe we will do something in the future similar like this, or we will just at the beginning and checking out what is possible, and maybe we will do it, but in the near future, probably not.
For the near future, we're gonna have to invite you back here.
Oh yeah, we have another theme that we are gonna talk about, and I know that we will have a special guest. I write it here on via mail. So
Yeah.
yeah, it will be great.
All right. Again, thanks for coming on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your knowledge. I hope for anybody that watched this was helpful. And thank you for watching.